You could win $1,000 in free gasoline from Exxon and Mobile just by telling us what fuels you and getting your friends to vote for your entry. It's the Exxon and Mobile What Fuels You contest. Rules and details at Exxon.com and Mobile.com.
This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNRadio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hey, it's Greeny. Thank you for checking out the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. This is what we have for you today. Wall-to-wall Super Bowl. Patriots win Super Bowl 49 in dramatic fashion. Why did Seattle make that call? Plus, we had Malcolm Butler live the day after making the biggest play of his life.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Congratulations to the New England Patriots, champions of the football world after an absolutely thrilling Super Bowl in a variety of ways. An unbelievable finish. You heard some of the sounds there, and we'll be talking about it all morning long with you. If it's snowy where you are, as it is here, put your feet up. We have a great show for you. We'll keep you company all morning long. Golic, what can you say? We will dissect all of it, including, obviously, an unbelievable finish. But the overall thoughts I have coming out of the game, the big picture thoughts I have coming out of the game are as follows. We knew going into this Super Bowl that it was either going to be the coronation of Tom Brady with a chance to be one of the great, if not the greatest quarterback of all time, and the Seattle defense as a chance to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. And that Seattle defense had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. And as I tweeted when the game ended, the 85 Bears don't need their offense to bail them out at the end to win that game. So whatever it is that Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson were doing down on the goal line at the end, and I'm going to yell and scream about that all morning long, at the end of the day, I put this more on the Seattle defense, who watched Tom Brady carve them to shreds in the fourth quarter last night and deserved to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, certainly you put it on them. It goes on both sides. And even before we get to the last play, New England gets a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter off of Seattle 3-and-outs. I mean, so you go into other situations where they had scored at one point, Seattle, 17 straight points before New England gets the two touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And Seattle can't sustain a drive. 3-and-out, you're giving Tom Brady another chance. Tom Brady throws a couple of interceptions in this game. One completely his fault. The other, I'd say, was more better defensive play than Tom's fault. But that's where I look at the offense and when they can't sustain, much like I talked about Green Bay not sustaining any offense to keep the ball away from Seattle and not giving them a chance. Seattle was doing the same thing. 3-and-out, a couple of scores, and there you go. You lose your lead. So it's in conjunction with, you're right. If you're going to go down as one of the great defenses, and listen, they're a great defense. But we were talking, and you're right, the talk was going to be, now you're not just talking about great defense right now. You're talking about legacy. You're talking about they've been the best defense for the last 3 years. They won the Super Bowl last year, shutting down the best quarterback in offense in a single-season history, and they could have done it here. They had a 10-point lead. All-time great defenses in the biggest game of the year don't give up that lead. Even if, I put some on the offense, you're going 3-and-outs. Even if your offense does that, you got to make the plays. Now, in this case, it's the matchup. You're doing it against one of the, or as people are going to say after this one, the greatest quarterback of all time. So that's the classic matchup we want. And it was Tom Brady and that offense that won the matchup.
Well, Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. Look, Tom Brady for the first three quarters was very pedestrian. He throws a touchdown to Gronkowski on maybe the worst coverage scheme I've ever seen in my life. We'll talk about it later. They got KJ Wright one-on-one about 50 yards away from the line of scrimmage or from where the ball is being snapped on Gronkowski. I think I could have thrown that touchdown. Brady throws two. You say one of them may not have been his fault completely. I mean, two bad interceptions, including one I can't believe he threw down on the goal line at the beginning of the game.
That was very surprising.
The pressure was getting to him. Michael Bennett was just, eating the Patriots front line, offensive line for dinner, and they're getting killed. And then, and we gave credit to Russell Wilson 2 weeks ago in Green Bay for doing it, kind of turned off the microchip, said, I'm starting over again in the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter, last night, against this, defense playing for history and everything else, Tom Brady was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Did he throw an incomplete pass in the fourth quarter? I don't think he did.
The last drive, I believe, was 8 for 8.
He was absolutely unbelievable in the fourth quarter last night. He was 13 out of 15 in the fourth quarter. Threw for 8 first downs. His QBR was 97. That's on a scale of 1 to 100. 2 touchdowns and no picks in the fourth quarter against this defense. So let's say it. Okay, you can have your pick of which guy you want and say he'd be my favorite quarterback. but I don't know that you can possibly say any quarterback has ever accomplished more in the Super Bowl era than Tom Brady has as a result of last night. He needed to put the exclamation point on it, and with an unbelievable fourth quarter, he did.
Excuse me, really was incredible. Oh, yeah, I don't. To me, there's no doubt he's the most accomplished. I would completely agree with that. But listen, that's the fun of the debate if you want to think somebody else is. But I was surprised at this because didn't you get that feel that Seattle took control of the game? Seattle scores with 2 seconds to go in the half, and they're getting the ball in the third quarter.
And how much did you love him throwing a pass with 6 seconds left?
Absolutely.
When everyone is telling him, kick the field goal, take the point. No, 6 seconds is an eternity. Throw a pass and then kick it.
Through it. I was a little surprised at how soft the coverage was for the Patriots there. But you get the touchdown, then you get the ball in the third quarter, you get a field goal, then you get another touchdown. All of a sudden you're up 10 points, and you know you got Marshawn Lynch who you can hand the ball off to and try and get this thing going, mix in some pass, and nothing. I mean, I really thought that was going to be it. Couldn't sustain the drive, as I mentioned in the fourth quarter, a couple of key 3-and-outs, giving Tom Brady a chance, who through the game had basically been, you use this term all the time, dinking and dunking. That was it. Shane Vereen, whose mom wanted to come up and check out our show, was a lovely lady and came up and met us. She was very, very nice and said enjoy the week, and obviously she did. Her brother was there. His brother was with her mom as well. Very nice people. I mean, he goes out and catches 11 balls in this game,
including one unbelievable one-handed catch.
Edelman catches 9, but Edelman and what wasn't very impressive early for Seattle was their tackling. Edelman would do that out route. He would catch the ball, and the Seattle player would overrun it or go over the top of him, and he'd gain the extra yards, which should have been 3-yard game. That's what I said was such a key with Seattle. They tackle you when you catch the ball. Those plays should have been, if it was first down, should have been 2nd and 7. Instead, it was 2nd and 2. There's a huge difference in what you can do when you get in those situations. So credit to Edelman and for breaking the tackles. And Seattle didn't make those tackles, but that was the game. Short slants, short out routes, underneath crossing routes. That was it for a while. Then he takes his shots. Certainly, I didn't get it typed in fast enough on the tweet with Gronkowski split out on KJ Wright saying they have to be licking their chops at the matchup because I was waiting for some help over the top, and there wasn't. And, I mean, talk about pitch and catch. But for most of it, it was underneath, and it was getting the job done. But I really thought Seattle took control of the game, scoring the 17 points starting at the end of the second quarter in a row there. But Tom Brady was Tom Brady, but of course we'll get to the end of the game.
Yeah, we've got to get to that because that's obviously the most memorable part. But an entire football game leads you to that point where they were, and in my opinion, as one who is largely rooting for Seattle, although I will say this, and we'll get to this a little later, they make it very hard to root for them. That was a very bad night for the Seahawks in many ways beyond their play, which is to say 0 class in good moments and 0 class in bad moments. Doug Baldwin's touchdown celebration is an embarrassment, and then, I mean, getting into a fight at the end of the game. You run up there. Did you see?
I know.
He runs up there, throws a punch, and then starts running in the other direction.
Listen. I've never been in a Super Bowl, but I could imagine the unbelievable frustration that is going on in the biggest game. Should it have happened? No. I'm not going to lose my mind.
I'll just say this.
On that.
48 other teams have lost Super Bowls before and not behaved that way at the end. Okay. It's just that simple. Bruce Irvin, not a great moment.
No, it wasn't a great moment, but that's not the part I'm going to lose my mind on.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today and find out if you could save. All right, you want to lose your mind about something? Let's lose our mind about this. What the heck are they doing throwing the football?
Lynch in the backfield. Russell looks, throws inside. Oh, my God, he's picked off at the goal line. It's picked off by Butler. Intended for Lockett at the goal line. Oh, my word, with 20 seconds left.
That's 710 ESPN Seattle. And no one could be more stunned, well, I guess, than the announcer. You could hear in his voice, what are they doing? What are they doing? The best tweet that I saw the entire night was, hi, I'm Rob Lowe, and I forgot Marshawn Lynch was in my backfield, Rob Lowe. That, to me, was the best of the entire night. You have Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, standing behind you. Belichick is not calling timeouts. The clock is running down. It's already down to 20 seconds. You don't need to take any more time off the clock, and they're not trying to take time off the clock because they're throwing a pass down to the 1-yard line in the middle of traffic. It's supposed to be a pick play. You are trying to run a play that requires pinpoint execution when all you have to do is give a ball to the guy that last week we were comparing to Earl Campbell, who just ran it from the 5 to the 1 on the previous play, dragging guys with him. Chris Collinsworth is speculating as to whether New England is going to let them score. Give the ball to Marshawn Lynch, for the love of all things holy. What are they doing?
Well, okay, I'll just let you yell this morning. Yeah, listen, they should have given it to him. There's no doubt about it. You want to let's let Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll explains what he did. I still don't agree with it. I mean, he laid it out exactly what their thought process was on why they didn't give the ball to Marshawn.
It's really what happened on this one sequence. We're going to win a game, and we have everything in mind how we're going to do it. We're going to leave them no time. And we had our plays to do it. And we had sent in our personnel. They'd sent in goal line. It's not the right matchup for us to run the football. So we, on second down, we throw the ball really to kind of waste that play. If we score, we do. If we don't, then we'll run it in on third and fourth down. Really with no second thoughts and no hesitation in that at all.
Okay, so that's his expert. Listen, we talk all year. You're worked up, and that's cool because everybody is. I'm going to try and explain this as calmly as I can. We always talk about matchups, just like when Gronkowski is lined up against KJ Wright wide. That's a matchup advantage to New England, correct? Mm-hmm. You get a touchdown out of it. So you're looking for matchups. So and this was by personnel, and this happens all the time. So the personnel Seattle had was 3 wide. The personnel New England had was goal line. It was on inside the 1-yard line. So basically Pete Carroll is saying, easy, boom, in our head, matchup situation, not going to run the ball here, going to throw that slant because that's what they gave us. And as he said, to waste a play and then we'll run the ball. I get the initial thought process of what he's saying. But at the end of the day, it doesn't compute. Because as soon as you get to, well, none of it would. But even when you get to the line of, okay, well, we figure we're going to waste a play. If I'm wasting a play inside the 1-yard line, I don't care if I have 5 wide receivers in there. I'm handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch because the slant play could be an incomplete pass, could be a touchdown, could be an interception. Giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch could be a fumble. The worst that happens, he gets tackled behind the line and you have another play. And that's not the worst. He could fumble as well. But how you don't say, okay, this isn't the set we want, but we're inside the 1-yard line, give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. The thought that to say that was a wasted play, as soon as he said that, I said, well, waste the play by giving it to Marshawn Lynch because I get what you're saying about the matchup. I completely understand. But if you're going to waste a play, his words, not mine, hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. That's where I'm taking my chance on a wasted play that he can get a half a yard and get the touchdown.
The things that led to it, the sequence that led to that moment, also the stuff of Super Bowl lore.
Oh,
the catch by Kearse that gets bobbled up in the air, and then he catches it lying on the ground. You can't believe it happened. Then they run the ball to Lynch. He runs it down to the 1, and then Belichick doesn't use a timeout, which I didn't understand at all. Now, I would never under any circumstances with a 4-point lead let them score. With a 3-point lead, you can't let them score either because you only let them score in that situation if it's tied or if a field goal beats you. Because at that point, the odds are completely in Seattle's favor. You got to try and keep them out of the end zone. I would not have been in favor of letting them score, and obviously they weren't letting them score.
Now, the thought is if you did let them score, then you need Tom Brady just to get you in field goal range to tie it.
I get it, but
I wouldn't have done it either.
You can stop them and win.
Yes, you can.
So you got to play defense.
I agree.
If stopping them, if a field goal still beats you, you have to let them score.
Right, exactly.
If the game is tied, you let them score.
There's no way I let them score.
No,
in that
me neither.
situation. No.
I absolutely thought, and I don't know when the next time we'll talk to Bill Belichick is, but I would love to ask him what the mentality was on not using timeouts there.
To give yourself time if they do score.
Because there was no way. Seattle had timeouts left.
Yes.
So there was no way in the world they weren't going to have time to run 4 plays if they wanted to.
And Seattle, just what Pete said, if New England wasn't going to call a timeout, Seattle was going to use them in a way that would have left no time on the clock and get the score.
So Belichick put everything on stopping them there, which again, I would not have let them score, but I would have been using timeouts. Either way, they don't. So it comes down to this is it. You're going to score a touchdown and win the Super Bowl. And the strength of your team, you've got Marshawn Lynch, who is the best player on your offense. everyone knows even they have to know in their heart of hearts, their acknowledged weakness of their team is their wide receiving core, and you put the Super Bowl there.
Yeah.
And again, to talk about wasting a play, I don't even understand what that means. Why are you wasting a play by throwing a ball into the middle of the field?
Well, the play, what he's talking, the play is fine. The play is normally a low percentage, percentage play. This was a great play.
What percentage play?
A good percentage play to throw if you're on the offense. I don't mind if you weren't going to run Marshawn Lynch, I don't mind this play. But here's the next thing, the execution of the play, and we'll get into it. All right, you've decided to run this play. Now there's the whole breakdown of this play of what went wrong, of which, you could put, there's all three people involved, from Curse to Lockett to Russell Wilson, each had a hand in why this play didn't work.
Okay, and that's fine, and they all deserve whatever blame, and you're going to hear Chris Carter's breakdown of the Super Bowl losing play. But at the end of the day, nothing that any of them say is ever going to change my mind that throwing the ball in the first place is one of really maybe the worst play call I've ever seen in the Super Bowl.
I completely agree, but they ran that play, and if they'd have executed that play better, maybe they could have scored, but a great play by Malcolm
Butler. I mean, who would have thought Malcolm Butler and Chris Matthews would be the two standout breakout stars of Super Bowl 49? Chris Matthews, who had never caught a pass before, was unstoppable last night, and then Malcolm Butler makes the game-winning interception. All right, Chris Carter will be on the Subway Fresh Take hotline, but first, here's CC last night after the game on what did and didn't happen on the play that cost Seattle the Super Bowl.
Well, it's easy to say it's the wrong play because they didn't execute the play, but it's a safe throw for a quarterback, especially if they're in cover 0. Bad execution from Seattle. The slot receiver's on the ball, Curse. He gets jammed, and that slows up the outside guy. The outside guy is in man-to-man. So when he's in man-to-man, he doesn't want to get picked. If Curse doesn't get jammed at the line of scrimmage by Browner, then the DB has to run the hump over the top, but he didn't. He had a beeline, and Lockett should get in front of him on that. So I believe it's a fault. It's a bad call. I would give it to Lynch. But if you do your job, you set a pick with Curse, and Lockett gets in front of him, and the worst, it's an incompletion trend.
So there's Chris Carter with an exceptionally good explanation of what happened and how it is Browner jamming Curse at the line of scrimmage that slows or throws off everything.
And it's Browner's the huge DB out there. Remember, he was a former Seahawk, so he's a big DB. And here's what Chris Carter meant by not making Malcolm Butler run the hump. Now he's behind Browner in coverage, right? And he's got Lockett in man-to-man. If Curse doesn't get jammed, what he does is he doesn't give Malcolm Butler a straight run to the ball. But so give this one, it all starts with the fact that Browner jammed him. And Curse doesn't get enough off the line of scrimmage to shield is the word the Patriots want to use. But listen, we all know you try and run a pick play, and it's fine. I'm not saying anything against it at all. Or you try and get the two defenders. One, in this case, you wanted Malcolm Butler to have to go around Browner more. And that would have been Curse would have had to get off the line more, but Browner jammed him. So Malcolm, you listen, you watch film. You see plays, you know tendencies. So Malcolm Butler got a straight run to the ball. So it's on Curse for not getting off the line of scrimmage. Great, and give credit to Browner for that one. Lockett, you know what? Maybe you got to turn his shoulders a little more to try and wall off if you can. And quite honestly, Russell Wilson's got to make a better throw. You look at this throw and you see him leading Lockett, and people are going to say, what do you mean he's got to make a better throw? He's got to make a better throw. He's staring right at the slant. You know what else he's staring at? Not only Lockett slanting, but he's staring at Malcolm Butler running straight for the ball. So now you got to throw it low. You got to throw it to him instead of leading him, or quite honestly, maybe a hair behind him and maybe a little low. But as he sees Lockett running the slant, he also sees Malcolm Butler is running straight for the ball. So each of these guys has a hand in the play not working. But it all starts with the fact that Brandon Browner did not let Curse get off that line enough to make Malcolm Butler have to go around them. He just ran a straight line for the interception.
Trent Dilfer.
The whole offense was surprised that this play was coming. So, great deal of respect for Pete Carroll. I think he's covering somebody right there. But the bottom line is you can dictate terms of that situation. You cannot throw an in-breaking route on 2nd 1 with the timeouts in that situation. Can't happen.
Completely agree. I mean, listen. We're breaking down the play because they ran it. Regardless of whether they think they should have run it or not, it's still a play. It's still a play that you're designing to work, and it's a play that works for teams. So you have to look at it and say, okay, they didn't run mistake. They ran the play, and there were mistakes on the play. Some great jobs by New England, but also some poor jobs by Seattle. The bottom line is, though, hand the ball off. And Malcolm Butler, here's a guy who just was part of the circus catch. He was the one covering Jermaine Kearse on the 33-yarder up the sideline that was bouncing off of everybody.
Covering him well.
Yeah, he absolutely covered him well. Ball bounces off the leg of Kearse. Kearse makes the catch. 4-yard run to the 1-yard line, and here we are. Everybody at the New England going, oh, my God, David Tyree all over again. Are you kidding me? We're going to lose on this? Because who doesn't think, obviously the New England defense doesn't think, but who outside of that doesn't think that Marshawn Lynch with at least 2 more cracks running the ball inside the 1-yard line isn't going to get in?
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike. You could win $1,000 in free gasoline from Exxon and Mobile just by telling us what fuels you and getting your friends to vote for your entry. It's the Exxon and Mobile What Fuels You contest. Rules and details at Exxon.com and Mobile.com.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
The Patriots win the Super Bowl in an epic matchup, a classic game. In every way except the team I was rooting for didn't win. Back and better than ever, Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll have Herman with his Subway Fresh take in this hour. Bill Polian will be on later. Congratulations to him and the rest of the class of 2015 for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll get to that. Jeff Saturday, Chris Carter, and a whole lot more this morning. Who was in the zone last night? They asked us to choose a player who's in the zone, which is brought to you by AutoZone. Invest your tax return in your car this year. Do that job even putting off. AutoZone has the parts, accessories, and expert advice you need. Protect your investment. Get in the zone with AutoZone. Clearly, it was Tom Brady who was in the zone 13 out of 15 in the fourth quarter last night, 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that's why when you see tweets like this, now I understand the point. Greg Rosenthal tweeted last night during the drive, during Seattle's final drive that results in the interception on the 1-yard line. Greg Rosenthal tweeted, people will talk about Tom Brady for the next 50 years so differently based on what the Patriots defense does here. And on some level, I understand that. Once you get to that point, it's out of Brady's hands what's going to happen.
Yes.
But the reality is, Brady wins that game last night from behind. They're down 10 points when the fourth quarter starts. They should never be in that position in the first place.
He makes Seattle have to score to win the game when they were down 10 points. So, the one thing I wanted to be hesitant of coming here, but it was such a huge thing, and we're going to talk about it, is to just talk about the last play. There are a lot of things that go on in a game that lead to what happens in a last play.
Listen, Jackie Smith once dropped a touchdown right in his hands, and the Steelers beat the Cowboys by 4 points in that game because they kicked a field goal instead of a touchdown. Did we hold that against Terry Bradshaw? Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls. Did he do it with a lousy defense? I mean, guys don't win these things by themselves. At the end of the day, I don't know what more you could ask a guy to do than Brady did last night to win that game against that defense.
Agreed.
If legacies were on the line last night, we know which one came up huge and which one came up small. And the Seahawks came up small last night, and I tell you what, I didn't think they did themselves any favors with their behavior last night.
Yeah.
Let's go through it. Doug Baldwin's touchdown celebration is disgraceful.
I have no clue what was going through his mind, and they didn't show it really. I mean, they certainly
NBC, of course, had the good sense not to show it, but you can see it anywhere you want to if you want to. You lived your whole life. First of all, he went to Stanford, okay, so he's obviously not an idiot. He caught 1 pass last night for 3 yards. Those were his stats. It was that pass for the touchdown. He catches it all by himself and falls down to the end zone. Whatever. I like Doug Baldwin.
Yeah.
He's been on the show many times. He's a fiery guy. He gets his team, but his end zone celebration is to pull down his pants and pretend he's going to the bathroom on the football.
Yeah.
You live your whole life to play in the Super Bowl, and that's what you come up with?
That's stunning to me. Just absolutely stunning that he pulled that.
Bruce Irvin at the end is classless. I mean, you run in there, you throw a punch, and then you go running in the other direction. You get thrown out of the Super Bowl with 20 seconds left. You could live without that.
And quickly, I get the frustration of them at that point. You never wanted to lead to that, obviously, but as I watched, I said, something may happen here because you know the personalities on that team and you know they're frustrated, but certainly no way you want a game to end that way.
No, and look, as I said before, 48 other teams have lost Super Bowls. I understand the frustration, but they don't all act that way.
No, they don't all, but I'm not going to also say in 48 other Super Bowls there wasn't some pushing and shoving at the end of a game. Now, this turned into a brawl, but I'm going to say there was some of this in other Super Bowls as well. That said, you really don't want that to happen, obviously.
Richard Sherman mocking Darrelle Revis on that play. All right, I get it. If you're Richard Sherman, that's how he behaves, and I get it. But if you're going to do that, then don't expect people not to rejoice and tap dance all over you when you lose.
Yeah, listen, and when somebody asks you about it, hopefully you talk about it. Maybe you did already. I don't know, but unfortunately,
I have Sherman.
Unfortunately, what we've seen out of him at times is he talks about what he wants to, and then when he's, when he has to go on something to talk about something else, he doesn't want to talk about things that people bring up. He did it on this show one time. I mean, that's just, if you're going to take it, with the good, you got to take it with the bad as well.
Here was Sherman.
We got a mentally strong team, mentally tough team. Everybody understands it didn't come down to one play. There are a number of plays throughout the game that we could have made and extended our lead, and guys understand that. So, there's no finger pointing.
That's very true. And listen,
actually, it isn't true because they were finger pointing after the game. Well, he wasn't.
Yeah, but him, the part that he says it doesn't. While we're going to talk about this play, a 60-minute game and a game that has 100 how many some plays between the two teams doesn't come down to one play. There's a lot of other plays that could make a difference.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
every single play in the fourth quarter was a chance for Seattle to win the game. They make one stop in the fourth quarter, the game is over, and they don't do it. But when I say that they didn't all not finger point, well, they kind of did. Here's Bobby Wagner after the game. Tony Dungy voted for him for MVP of the league. He made a great play last night.
Nice pick.
I mean, he's a great player. But here's Bobby Wagner after them. Let me find it on my screen here. Here's Bobby Wagner afterwards.
I got Marshawn Lynch, one of the best running backs in the league. And, everybody makes their decisions, and unfortunately we didn't give him the ball. So.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about that.
He wasn't happy, and here's Bruce Irvin.
I don't understand how you don't get the best back in the league. Not even the 1 yard line. I was on the 0.5 yard line, and we throw a slant. I don't know what the offense had going on, what they seen, but I just don't understand.
Yeah, they certainly. They're with the rest of America and questioning that call. And Pete Carroll, again, will play it at some point, gives his explanation.
I'll play it again. There's a lot of people joining us all morning long. You're up late last night. Here it is again, Carroll explaining.
It's really what happened on this one sequence. We're going to win the game, and we have everything in mind how we're going to do it. We're going to leave them no time. And we had our plays to do it. And we had sent in our personnel. They'd send in goal line. It's not the right matchup for us to run the football. So on second down, we throw the ball really to kind of waste that play. If we score, we do. If we don't, then we'll run it in on third and fourth down. Really with no second thoughts and no hesitation in that at all.
I think that one of the things that he's saying now, the more times I listen to it, is remember, they had to use a timeout after the crazy catch by Curse,
right?
Because no one knew what was going on by the time they got down there.
And when no one knows what's going on, guess what's happening? The play clock is running.
Exactly.
That automatically starts after a play.
So they have one timeout, not two. So maybe what he's thinking is we can't run the ball 3 times. They didn't have enough time to left to run the ball 3 times. They could only run it twice. Maybe, and in some ways, now as you have more time to think about it, maybe that is why Belichick doesn't use a timeout there. I thought he would. I thought he should have. In the moment, I was thinking, why isn't he calling a timeout in case they score a touchdown, you give yourself a chance? If he calls a timeout, then the Seahawks can run the ball 3 times.
Right.
Under the circumstances, they probably only had time for 2 running plays,
right?
Because of the timeout situation, because they only had 1 left, not 2. So that, I guess, is significant on that level of it. Again, I'll never, ever stop thinking it was the wrong call.
No, especially when he throws out, we figured we'd waste a play. Again, if I'm wasting now his thought process of wasting a play is probably, if not a touchdown, it's going to be incomplete. The clock will stop.
That's what I mean. That's why you're throwing a pass, because you don't have time to run it 3 times.
I'm with you, but you know what? You have time to run it twice, and then that's fine by me. I'm still putting the ball in the hands of Marshawn Lynch, but they ran the play, and give New England credit, starting from Brandon Browner's jam of Curse to Malcolm Butler making a beeline for the ball, and Russell Wilson's got to make a better throw. It's Ricardo Lockett's got to be more aggressive, do a better job of turning and trying shielding as well. Throw's got to be behind because Butler's right there. So there's a lot to look at that play. They chose to run it. That means you can actually have a successful play. And there's a lot that went wrong for Seattle, and New England certainly did a lot right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other part of it is it's not like he threw a terrible pass. He made the play based upon what his expectation was of the pick, and the Patriots beat the pick, right? Browner comes up, jams the play, Butler sees it, he charges the ball. The Patriots made a play on defense.
You see Butler lined up behind Browner because he has Lockett, who's going to be the receiver on the slant there. If Curse can get off the ball better, then then Browner goes back further, and Butler doesn't have a straight line to the ball. So Kearse doesn't get off enough. Give Brandon Browner credit for that. Lockett needs to go more aggressive to the ball and turn. Butler makes a great play, and Russell Wilson's got to make a better throw. And I know people are looking at that throw and say, wait a minute, it's a slant. He led him beautifully. No, he's seeing Lockett's slant. What else is right in front of him? It's Butler running toward the ball before the ball is even thrown. So now put it on right on his back shoulder, or put it on his low backside hip. Low and away that way, and not leading right where, if you see Lockett, then he sees the other guy. Russell Wilson looking at it right at him, and Russell Wilson's a smart quarterback. So while he's throwing the slant, and it happens bang, bang, you got to be aware. You see that guy breaking on the ball, you got to change the angle of the throw as well.
So give credit to the Patriots.
Yes,
they make a play, and then there's one other little tiny moment, because the game is not fully done, because
you're right.
He does not fall down in the end zone.
We're on about the half-yard line.
He gets
again.
hit by Lockett. And he's falling backwards. If he just falls down, it's a touchback,
and it's over.
And they're going to the 20.
Right.
Instead, he comes out of the end zone. I'm not criticizing him for that. He's this is an unbelievable moment.
It's an undrafted rookie. I mean, listen, the right thing would have been fall right in the end zone. But
I don't blame him for that.
No.
So now he's on the 1. So now, I mean, a safety is very much in play. And if there's a safety with 20 seconds left, now it's a 2-point game, and there's going to be a free kick.
Complete change.
Seattle has a chance.
And you saw Belichick tell Brady, when Brady went over to talk to him, he said, tell those guys to fire out. It was going to be a quarterback sneak. There's no doubt about it. From that half-yard line, they had to run a play. It was going to be a quarterback sneak, because Brady runs those well, and he was telling the line, Belichick was to fire out. But Seattle...
And they have 2 chances, too, because Seattle still has a timeout left.
Right.
So they were going to have 2 chances to try and push him back into his own end zone and get the safety. But they jump off sides.
I mean, I get it. You got to be aggressive there. This is it. You have to get him in the end zone if you have any chance here. So they got overly aggressive, lined up off sides, and that's the ball game.
All right, let me play you Steve Young, and then we'll move on to some of the other stuff. Let me see here. Where was Steve Young last night on that? Because everyone, of course, afterwards is talking about the decision. Here's Steve Young on the play call.
I understand second guessing. It's not right, but in context, in my mind, if you're going to do something high risk inside on a play that doesn't have a lot of imagination, then to lose a championship on that play when you don't mean to run it, you deserve to have that happen. If I understand his explanation correctly, we're trying to waste it down so we can get the right matchup and run the football. Call timeout, come back, get the matchup you want to pound it in. If that's what you want to do, then do it.
Now, the one thing I'll disagree with Steve on is you only have one timeout.
You use that timeout, now you're out of timeout.
But if you don't like the matchup, I mean, is it oversimplifying on my part, Mike? Right? I'm a fan at the end of the day to say if you don't like what you see, just throw the ball in the stands.
You do that.
I mean, throw something that you absolutely can't. There's plenty of time left for Russell Wilson to do what he does best, which is run a little.
To get out of that play or to throw it away, to do something, yes. But I would not. I do agree with you and disagree with Steve. I wouldn't have called the timeout.
Wouldn't have called the timeout. There's a lot of things you can do. You can't call the timeout.
You needed that in your hip pocket.
Because you need the timeout. All right, am I being told we're going to have Malcolm Butler in a second? Okay, Malcolm Butler is going to join us live in a second. So why don't we hold off on? You want to hold up, Ray? Give me what? Do I have a minute to do a read here? This is what we call live broadcasting as we go. All right, let's do this moment run from 1-800-Flowers.com, and then we will have the man of the hour, Malcolm Butler, who makes an interception that wins the Super Bowl last night. After this word from 1-800-Flowers.com. Mike, roses for Valentine's are always the perfect gift. This year, send the best, so you really wow her. Do what we do, impress her with a beautiful rose bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com.
And right now, 1-800-Flowers has a special limited time offer just for our listeners. That would be sure, and viewers. That'd be sure to make her smile and score you some brownie points. Available only through tomorrow. Order 24 stunning multicolored roses for $29.99, half off the original price, or for just $10 more, upgrade them to red roses. This amazing offer of 2 dozen roses for $29.99, but the deal ends tomorrow and only while supplies last, so you need to order now. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com for your desktop or mobile device. Click on the radio microphone in the upper right-hand corner and enter Mike. That's 1-800-Flowers.com. Enter Mike or call 1-800-Flowers and mention our first name.
Russell Wilson extends the hands he has. Wilson, quick throw. And it's intercepted. Intercepted by Malcolm Butler. Butler has it at the 1. Malcolm Butler stepped in front of the throw. And the Patriots have possession with 20 seconds to go in Super Bowl 49 with a 4-point lead over the Seahawks.
It's got to be one of the dumbest calls offensively in Super Bowl history.
Well, that's 98.5, the Sports Hub, with their call in Boston last night, but it was Malcolm Butler who had the moment that I guess every kid dreams of making the play that wins the Super Bowl, and Malcolm Butler joins us now on Mike and Mike on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Malcolm, congratulations. How do you feel this morning?
Feeling good. Good morning. Feeling good, blessed, and just feeling good as I can help my team out on a great Super Bowl win.
So take us through it from the snap of the football, Malcolm, for all of our listeners this morning and everyone who watched that play. Take us to when you break the defensive huddle, where you're going, what your mindset is, what your job is on that play, and what you saw. Take us through the whole play.
Okay, the play before that, I deflected the ball and it landed in the cross hand some kind of way, and I went out for the next play, and I came back in, and they called goal line 3-corner, and I'm like, goal line 3-corner, and I'm like, they should be running the ball, but, I'm a pass defender first, so I'm thinking pass, and I'm most definitely thinking pass when they say, when they call 3 corners, and it's 3 receivers on the 1-yard line. So, but anyway, before at practice, they had that play. The scout team ran that same play, and I got beat on it. And Bill told me, you got to be on that. And at that time, memorization came through, and I just jumped the route, and I just made a play, and just do your job, do it the best way you can, and I just did my job.
And in talking about that play, was the intent for Browner was on Curse? Was the intent for Curse to come off and basically try and shield you so you couldn't have a straight line to the ball?
I think so, and Browner did a good job of jamming him up, so I was able to get through free and beat him to the point and pick the ball off.
Can you take us through that again for those who don't fully understand it? What exactly did Browner do that enabled you to get into the position to make that pick?
They were stacked receivers. I think Cross was the top receiver, and Lockett was the back receiver, and Browner was the corner in front. I was in the back, and Browner just jammed Cross up very well, so I can be able to get around and make the play, because I knew it was a pick route, and that's exactly how I got picked at practice. And I just learned from practice and took it to the game and executed the play better.
So now, again, it's a split second, but as we know, so much can go through a mind in a split second. So now you get the memorization, you make that break on the ball, there's no one impeding you because the pick doesn't work thanks to Browner. So as you're running a beeline to that ball, tell us what's going through your mind as you see the ball in the air.
Do or die, pick the ball off. Football really is all about execution, and it's all about one thing, the ball. And without the ball, you can't do nothing. So I just grabbed that ball and squeezed it like I never squeezed anything before, and just got up out of the end zone. So, it won't be no safety or anything like that, and just thinking at the moment, and just got down, and just glad we can get out of there with that W.
Mike and Mike and Malcolm Butler, for those who don't know, he was an undrafted rookie cornerback out of Division II West Alabama. Didn't come into the game last night until the 32nd defensive snap of the Super Bowl. Malcolm, has it fully registered in your mind that you made the play last night that won the Super Bowl for the Patriots?
At that moment, I just thought I helped the team, but, as things been settling down, yes, I made a big play to help all my teammates win a Super Bowl, especially Brady, Reeves, all those guys, and it's just a blessing, and I just thank God, and it's just a good feeling, a dream come true, and you can do anything that you believe and have your mind to.
Malcolm Butler joining us made that crucial interception. And before even West Alabama, and I'm pronouncing it correctly, your college career started at Hinds Community College, did it not, in Mississippi? So you're starting out at a community college. Go back to that and think at that point, could it ever have even entered in your mind, not only playing in the NFL, but playing in the Super Bowl and making a game-winning interception when you're all the way back starting out in community college?
Nah, I don't think that I can think of this in a dream. And, that's what dedication and hard work gets you. When you focus and you just fully prepared and just ready to go out and execute and help the team win and just overcome all obstacles. So it worked out great.
Well, Malcolm, we know that you need to run. Congratulations. It's the play that's going to live on forever, and you deserve it for learning what you saw in practice, executing it on the field, and you lead your team to a championship. Congratulations, Malcolm. Thanks for a few minutes.
Thanks. Enjoy Disney World.
Thank you.
That's Malcolm Butler. By the way, we should point out, he is doing this interview while wearing our producer Josh Drew's ESPN radio jacket. We're going to tweet a photo of that on Twitter at Mike and Mike.
I hope he's going to let him keep it.
Yes, I believe Josh should let him keep that jacket. Josh is the same one who once tried to bring Rich Dalrymple like those little ESPN cups.
Yeah, shirts and cups.
So let him give it. You win the Super Bowl for your team. You at least get a jacket from ESPN radio.
And he was one of the guys. You know, the Disney commercial after was he and Julian Edelman who both said it together. Yeah. So they're sending a duo, it seems, to Disney World. And I mean, again, Hinds Community College, where, if I'm reading correctly, after his 5th game his freshman year, got kicked off the team, came back, played there again next year, then went to West Alabama, undrafted. He was picked up by New England in May, appeared in 11 games this year, and here he is making the play of his life at this moment. Just incredible.
That's what is amazing about sports. Is you talk about the unexpected heroes, and there's Tom Brady leading his team to a championship last night with a brilliant 4th quarter, but he can't do it unless Malcolm Smith, and just listen to what he told you. They ran that play in practice, and he got beat.
That's what you do.
And he learned from it, and he jumped the route, and he makes the play that clinches the Super Bowl. We're Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you.
Quick note, we got Herm coming up, but one thing we should mention in this, because we're sure to rip them when we don't like what they did, the referees did a great job last night.
Yeah.
I there weren't a lot of penalties called. Never went to replay one time. I believe there were no challenges in the game. Obviously, on turnovers and touchdowns, all that.
Yeah, the automatic reviews. There were a couple of calls. I thought there was one blatant offensive pass interference early that they missed. I thought that the 15-yard, the 5-yard penalty for running into the punter should have been a 15-yard penalty.
I was really, and I immediately tweeted to Pereira on that, and he said he didn't hit his leg much. I personally thought the rule was you hit the leg, I don't care if you brush it or destroy it, it's a 15-yarder, and Pereira was there to say, no, that's not the way it works.
But I agree with you. Those are comparatively small moments.
Yes.
In the big picture, no one is going to remember any calls from that game, and that's the way you want it.
That's the way it should be. The best of Mike and Mike.
Herman Edwards walked in, and the first thing he said to me was, I'm sick. He's upset. Herman is upset.
I'm not even upset. I'm just sick. Was this a great game or what?
Yes, it was.
Game. I mean, you're sitting there, you're compelled. The 4th quarter, you're sitting there going, look at this thing unfold. We were hoping that we were going to get a game like this. I'm sick for the players that lose it because it was such a competitive game. And, and I just feel bad for the players at the end, where all of a sudden it ends the way it ended. And that all we're going to talk about is this one play and the decision of the coach. Why didn't you run? Why don't you give the ball to your best player? I mean, we're going to. I've already analyzed the play on tape. Yeah. I've seen it a couple times, and I'm not second guessing Pete. I'm not doing that. This guy's won a Super Bowl, had a chance to win another one, maybe on the one didn't work out. You got to give New England a lot of credit. Think about this in this game. Really, the Seattle Seahawks in the 4th period basically had 4 possessions and couldn't move the ball.
Right.
And at the end, they move it and get it down. And this is, I mean, you're hoping you see a Super Bowl like this. Both quarterbacks in the 4th quarter, all of a sudden, Brady, he finds a way to get it going. And then all of a sudden, when you think it's over, Russell Wilson gets the ball back. And you go, here we go. Here we go.
Much like Green Bay that couldn't close the game out with 5 minutes to go, when they did close it out against the Dallas with 4 minutes to go, they couldn't close it out. Here was Seattle not able to close it out on going at 3 and out from the offensive side, going 3 and out and giving Brady another chance. But the bottom line is Herman Greeny brought this up, and we were talking about legacies on both sides. So Brady, certainly we're talking about his, but defensively, this is the #1 defense in the league the last 3 years. We're starting to mention them. Do they belong in the talk of the '85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, the Steel Curtain, you have a 10-point lead. Well, let me tell you what, it's in your hands. It's in your hands. You have a 10-point lead with the best defense in the last 3 years. It's in your hands.
A couple things happened in this game early. They didn't tackle very well. They missed a lot of little, the little 5-yard routes were 7. They missed tackles, and all of a sudden, it's second and 6.
Second and 3, and instead it was second and 3 instead of second and 7.
And that put them in a lot of third and 3s, third and 1s. They convert. And I thought in a game like this, the rush was effective early, but late it was not, because Brady was getting the ball out of his hand. This is what happens. You're talking about a team that had 72 plays. Another team only has 53. In the fourth quarter, when they needed a rush, these guys were a little bit gassed because New England had the ability to hit the little pass, continue to move the chains and stay ahead of the chains. And when you needed to rush at the end, not so much. And so this was a game that was played out by two outstanding football teams. Russell Wilson, before the half, he gets the ball back, and they go right down the field to tie it up. I mean, it was just, you're hoping you see a game like this. And then the way it ended, it was like, wow.
Okay, so let's get to the way it ended. Here was Pete Carroll's explanation afterwards for what they saw and why they ran the play they ran.
We decided to call another call, and we make these decisions every game all the time. They work out sometimes and they don't other times. This one didn't work out right for us, and we could have run it and got stuffed. We could have run it and scored. We could have scored against their goal line as well. I know that could have happened. It just wasn't a great football thought at the time. Great football was, let's make sure we match up properly so that we can have our best chance to run it in and score. So that's all.
Again, the strategy was to try and spread them out and then run the ball up the middle. When the Patriots went with generally their goal line defensive package, they decided the matchups were favorable to throw the slant. Herman, you've called plays 8 million times as a head coach, as a defensive coach, and all the rest of it. What exactly happened on that play?
Well, first of all, Brandon Browner did an outstanding job of really putting Butler in position to make a play on the ball. And it started with Browner at the line of scrimmage. Curse is supposed to really try to go upfield and really cause Browner to run into Butler. And that didn't happen. You see it right there. And I'm going to highlight this on SportsCenter. And Butler was able to get the angle at where the ball was being thrown. And not only did he get the angle, guys, this is the great part about this play. He caught it.
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't catch this ball, okay, it's a knockdown pass. Guess what? They're still on the 1 yard line.
Yeah, we're going to see a couple of runs.
And by the way, and the clock stops because it's an incomplete pass.
And Seattle has a timeout.
But he catches it. I mean, that's the amazing thing. He caught this ball. I mean, it's a great play by the corner, but it really starts with Browner. Right there, you see it. This route is a rub route. They ran the same thing on the other side of the field. It was actually mirrored. The tight end and Baldwin were running the same thing, and Lynch went out of the backfield, and he ran to the flat. He was looking to this side all the way. This was a route they've ran before, and the kid talked about it in practice. And think about this. Brandon Browner played for Seattle. So he probably told you. And the key was where Butler lined up. Butler lined up a little bit, almost head up to inside. If he lines up outside, he doesn't make this play. But it starts with Browner. Browner's ability, as soon as the ball was snapped, you saw Browner quit jamming. And that ended the play. There.
If you didn't hear him, we just had Malcolm Butler on. He said the scout team ran this play against him, and he got scored on. And Bill Belichick told him after that happened in practice, you got to get there. You have to be able to get there. And the reason he got there when you're watching this, to not make it too complicated for you, you see Malcolm Butler run a straight line to the football. The bottom line is, Curse was supposed to get down the field enough to make Malcolm Butler not be able to run a straight line to the football. You wanted him to get caught up in the trash. But as I said earlier, and as Herm just said, Browner stopped that by jamming him at the line and giving Butler, who saw this in practice and got burned by it, saw it in tape, obviously, the fact to make that straight line run and make the play.
And it's a combination of Browner realizing that I know what's coming. He probably told a young kid, hey, look, get more head up and inside on this guy. This is what's coming. Exactly what happened. And think about it. They went out and got Browner, and they went and got Revis. For whatever they paid Browner, it paid off on that play right there.
It absolutely did. And let's really break it down, though. We have to put some of this on Russell Wilson, do you not? I mean, it's a slant route, and you're told to lead your receiver on a slant route. But as I said, he sees Lockett. If he sees Lockett, he also sees Butler running straight at the ball. He's got to throw it on that back hip or right on that back shoulder and not lead him, correct?
Yeah, and we say all that, but to run the ball.
Oh, no. Listen,
They run the ball. I mean,
I get that.
Give it to your best player.
I'm with you, but if you're going to run that play, execute it better.
I agree. You know, and there's the problem. Now we want to look at, well, why did – look, I'm not second-guessing Pete, okay? The guy won a Super Bowl. But you have the ball on the 1-yard line. You've got time. You have timeout. Give it to your best player.
No, completely agree
give it to your
that.
best player.
Yes.
I've been yelling and screaming that all morning long. Mike and Herman is here. His Subway Fresh Take. At Subway, you can make every morning the best morning ever with freshly made breakfast sandwiches. Subway, eat fresh. I do want to get into the actual play they ran, but I would like to just ask you to pick up on Mike's point.
Yes.
Is that a play where Wilson just because he's seen what the matchup is, he's going to throw it without seeing what happens, or does he actually look and should have seen? I guess what I'm asking is, he gets that ball out there pretty quickly, Mike, right? So does he just see what the defense is and say, this should work, and so I'm throwing it to a spot?
He's in shotgun. He's basically catching the ball. Remember now, he's catching the ball. He's got to catch the ball first. He knows over here we got a pick route going. And if my guy, he's trusting his guy's going to do his job and release and get the rub, and this should come wide open. Now, we can say he should have threw it low, he should have threw it behind him. I get all that. Yeah, hey, that's on the quarterback. Russell Wilson said I should have made a better throw. Guys, the guy made a great play. I mean, it's amazing when a defensive guy makes a play. We say, we should have done this. Well, you know what? In practice, this is how you threw it, and you drew it up, and you threw a touchdown pass in practice. The kid already said, we ran this on in practice, the guy threw a touchdown. Yep. So Russell Wilson's thinking, hey, he's going to pick the guy. What did Butler say? I did my job.
Yep.
They didn't do their job. They didn't execute it right.
And he was able to do his job again. Let's give Browner the credit. He's due.
All Browner.
He stopped Curse from making there be trash for Butler to have to loop around instead of running directly downhill and beeline in the play.
You see it right there. And the key is where Butler lined up. If we can see it again, where Butler lines up, that's the critical part. Because if Butler lines up a little bit outside or head up on this guy, he doesn't get there in time. See, they mirrored the route on the left side, too, as you can watch it. It's the same route on the left side. It's a rub route. But see where Butler lines up? He lines up almost inside the guy. He's anticipating this route's coming and trusted. Browner did a great job. Mm-hmm. But the key to it, he intercepted the ball.
Yeah, instead of knocking it down. The ball's thrown hard, and he manages with the contact to make the catch. The first thing that Herman did when he got in here this morning, we'll have him do it for you next, is he actually diagrammed the play for me. And if you're a Seahawks fan, you're not going to like what you're about to hear. Where Mike and all the Twitter reaction comes to the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. I'm looking at some of the reaction. It's all over the place. Carl, the only thing deflated today is Pete Carroll's ego. # shrinkage. Eric, it was a chess game. The best team that made the best moves won the game. I think Herman made a good point there, which is, when an offensive player makes a big play with a brilliant play, we say they won the game. Yes. When a defensive player makes a brilliant play, we say the offense blew the game. At the end of the day, I mean, the kid made an unbelievable
play. Both those DBs, Browner and he, made great plays.
What else have we got here? Levi, weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, all the talk was about the Legion of Boom, and the game comes down to the Patriots defense. Herman, that was a point I made earlier.
Yes.
The 85 Bears, you give them a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. They don't need their offense to make a play to win it at the end. So give all the credit in the world to Tom Brady. But if the Seahawks defense, if their legacy was on the line last night to be one of the greats of all time, they didn't come up big.
Well, and they came up big prior to this game against Green Bay. Only held them to 6 points in the second half.
Yeah.
And had a chance, but really I thought they fatigued a little bit at the end in the fact that when Brady was able to continue to sit in the pocket in the fourth quarter and really play without duress on him. I mean, early in the game, he was getting hit. He was moving around. He was throwing the ball. He wasn't timed up right. But I thought their ability to continue to make first downs wore the rush down. And they played a lot of zone, which they do, and they're a great football team. But the little routes got to them eventually. They kept making first downs, moving the chains, and they find themselves winning a big-time game and another Super Bowl for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
As much of the game was going on, they couldn't get Michael Bennett blocked, and then they obviously figured that out, and Averill got hurt. I mean, there were some injuries on the Seahawks defense that obviously are a factor, but that happens in every football game since the beginning of time. Keep that Twitter reaction coming. Herman Edwards is here. If you were rooting for Seattle last night, you're not going to like what he's going to tell you in exactly 10 seconds. Take us through the whole play.
They called goal line 3-corner, and I'm like, they should be running the ball, but, you know, I'm a pass defender first, so I'm thinking pass, and the scout team ran that same play, and I got beat on it, and Bill told me you got to be on that, and at that time, memorization came through, and I just jumped the route, and I just made a play, and did my job.
How about that? Malcolm Butler, one of the unlikeliest Super Bowl heroes of all time. That was him live with us here on Mike and Mike earlier in this hour. You know, and I think back, Oleg, to 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the Green Bay Packers and how just do your job and you win that game.
That's right.
Don't try and do more than your job. And there's a kid, Malcolm Butler, undrafted free agent, didn't come into the game last night till the 32nd defensive snap, did his job and wins the Super Bowl.
And I'll say it correctly this time, Hines Community College is where he started his career in Mississippi before he went to West Alabama, undrafted, finds himself in this position. But that's exactly right. Browner does his job of jam and curse, and Butler does his job of making the play when he had the opportunity.
So football in particular, and all sports in general, are largely a function of matchups, right? Coaches look, and Herman, again, for those who don't know, was a coach for many, many years. So you look at the matchups, and you see what you think is most advantageous to you. And so on that level, we understand that the Patriots, the Seahawks felt that the Patriots defense was dictating that their best choice was to throw that pass. But Herman, you just diagrammed to me the offense and the defense, and what is it that you have determined looking at where everybody was lined up?
Well, even though, you know, they brought in personnel to cover the wide receivers, and when you break the defense down, it's really on offense, it's where are your matchups, and they matched up fine outside because they had corners to cover the wide receivers. And really, it boils down to this: they elected to throw a pass. If they run the ball away from where the play was thrown,
so to the left side,
yes, they got a matchup problem. As far as I'm concerned, with Seattle, because Hightower is really playing like safety, but he's the middle backer, and he has to run. He has to run the alley to make the tackle on the quarterback. Let's say right here, and we could stop that.
We're watching it on TV.
For those of you on radio, if you go to the left side and you run the option over to the left side, they're man-to-man on the tight end. So we got a hat on a hat. In offense, we said we want a hat on a hat. We got a hat on a hat on that side.
Meaning you are going to be able to have everyone blocked on the left side.
Yes, and they've got one defender on the line of scrimmage that basically has to play either the run or the option, and the middle linebacker, who's Hightower, has to run the alley to try to take Wilson.
Right.
And there lies the problem. You're talking about a 1-yard play. So, they probably didn't have the option to call it. I understand that, but
what you're saying is if they had run the read option, which they run probably more effectively than any team in the NFL, to the left side, you think that what you said to me was you think Russell Wilson walks into the end zone.
I think they can score. I think they're going to make a yard. There's no doubt.
And the point of it, again, is that even if they don't, they can call a timeout,
yes,
and they have 2 more plays. Now, the one thing that I do understand is throwing one pass in the sequence. By Belichick not using his timeout, and the Seahawks having to have used 2 timeouts before that series of that sequence begins, particularly after the crazy catch that Curse makes when everyone's got to run up there, and I think everyone was in a little bit of a state of shock. They had to waste a timeout.
Right.
They don't have time to run the ball 3 times.
No.
That's the one thing they don't have time
exactly
to do.
Right.
So they probably were going to have to throw it once in the sequence. But what you're saying, Herman, is on that play, if they run it, you think that to the left side, you think they get in.
I do, because if they split Baldwin out, he's going to take the guy that's guarding him. Now, they ran a mirror route. They ran the same route on the other side, and Lynch actually went to the flat, and the linebacker's trying to cover him. But right now, the only guy that can tackle a quarterback at that point, if they run the option, is Hightower, who's sitting in the middle of the field. Look at Hightower. You see that? He's going to have to get over there and try to catch the quarterback, Wilson, running off the edge.
So running to the left. So whenever
if you run to the left, if you run to the left and you just run the option, I get it. The one guy's going to have to tackle Lynch by himself, and Hightower's going to have to run the alley to try to tackle, obviously, the quarterback.
And so, Mike and Mike, where our Sports Center is brought to you by 1-800-Flowers.com. Don't drop the ball. Wow her with beautiful roses from 1-800-Flowers.com this Valentine's. Order 24 multicolored roses for just $29.99. Upgrade to 24 red roses for just $10 more. Offer ends tomorrow. So hurry, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the microphone, enter Mike, or call 1-800-Flowers and mention Mike. Herman, were you surprised that the Seahawks defense, which, as you said, held Aaron Rodgers, I know he was hurt, but still held him to basically nothing in the second half. Were you surprised at the way Tom Brady torched that defense in the fourth quarter? Again, if you're just waking up, Brady was 13 out of 15 for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter against that legendary Seattle defense. Are you surprised that Brady picked them apart to the degree he did?
No, because it's Tom Brady. And he had time to sit in the pocket and throw the football. And as I said, in that fourth quarter, they threw the ball 16 times. They ran it 7. And I thought these guys wore down. 72 plays, this defense had to defend Tom Brady. He threw 50 passes. And there's the problem. When you throw 50 passes at the rate that he's throwing it, and you're talking get the ball out of his hand, the defensive line wears down.
Yeah.
And the problem is a lot of 3-and-outs. They have the ball 4 times, Seattle, and they go punt, 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 and then interception, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that defense is going back on the field, and there lies the problem. They eventually wore down a little bit, and they were able to just pick them apart. It wasn't long passes, just little 5-yard passes, and and they wore them out, and you got to give Tom Brady and those guys a lot of credit. Think about this game. Tom Brady throws it 50 times in a football game. That's hard to win a game like that. And Seattle only throws it 21 times. And they had it. So I'm just saying the dynamics of football is interesting because Seattle throws it 21 times, and maybe if they only throw it 20 times and run the last play, maybe they win this game.
So quickly, we talk a lot about what Seattle didn't do, but what New England did win and what Tom Brady. What does this do for you for Tom Brady and legacy?
It's just it adds another another brick on the castle that he's built, him and Coach Belichick, and they're the first ballot Hall of Famers for me, and I'm not going to sit here and say they're the best ever. I don't get into that. That's not I never do that with any player. I've always only said one thing: the best player ever played the game of football is Jim Brown. Other than that, a lot of great players, a lot of great coaches, outstanding. They've left a legacy that we can all look at and debate, which is great for us. Mm-hmm. But outstanding job by the New England Patriots, that whole organization, and Pete Carroll and those guys getting back to the Super Bowl again. That's a heck of a feat.
Mike and Mike.
The celebration is on in New England. Couple other notes coming out of last night that I'm seeing on Twitter. We told you the game drew a record rating, a 49.7 rating. They'll have the total audience numbers a little later in the day. 2 other numbers that Darren Ravel is tweeting, our business guy. 28% of the TVs in the U.S. that were on during the Super Bowl were not tuned into the game. So conversely, of course, that means 72% of the televisions that were on the Super Bowl.
Does it still amaze you that anybody doesn't watch it? You always talk about this every year. Who is not watching the game?
I'm because the Super Bowl has something for everyone. Again, I've made this point many times, but my daughter may not be the world's biggest sports fan. She likes sports, but she was excited to see Katy Perry. Right, it's something for everybody. My wife, who likes sports, but was in the advertising industry for many, many, many years.
The commercials.
Can't wait to see the commercials. We can't wait to see the game. Right. So it's got something for everybody.
Yes,
plus, it's also one of those things that, we talk about events. This is the biggest event we have.
It's a big event that you're going to be talking about.
Everyone's going to be talking about it. Right. So if only from a not wanting to be left out of the discussion standpoint, I would think that you would tune in and watch.
Yeah, I love doing it, so maybe we can do it tomorrow. I always love to hear what were you, if you didn't have something specific like work, what did you choose to do outside of watch the Super Bowl?
I did see someone tweeted, I forget who it was, I think it was Judy Batista, I forget. Someone tweeted that there are fewer weddings on Super Bowl Sunday than any other day of the year. That is the day of the fewest weddings. I guess you could get married early in the day, right? You could get married at noon in the East. The game doesn't kick off till 6:40.
That whole day is an event. That whole the tailgate for a Super Bowl, even at home, a home gate, is still hours before. I don't think you want to worry about getting dressed up and going to a wedding.
No, I wouldn't. No, are you kidding?
And I tell you what, I'd show the people that had it. I wouldn't go to your wedding if it was on Super Bowl Sunday.
I wouldn't go to your wedding if it was on Super Bowl Sunday. My son had a basketball.
I wouldn't go to my wedding.
I was a little surprised about the timing of Stevie's basketball. We had a basketball game today, so we're in the Eastern time zone, so the Super Bowl kicks off at 6:40. We had a game from 3:30, ended about 4:30. So, I missed, and then I drove up here, so I got in front of the TV probably 5:45. So I missed a lot of the pregame, which I normally would watch and want to watch. One other note quickly from Ravel, 89% of the televisions on in Seattle during the Super Bowl were tuned into the game. So 11% of the televisions that were on in Seattle weren't watching the Super Bowl?
What are you watching?
Who are they? What are you watching?
We're going to do this tomorrow. What are you watching? Again,
What?
maybe if you had to work, okay, but what are you watching?
Let me make the prediction that of those 11% that weren't watching the Super Bowl, 0% of them are now watching us. Right?
Yeah.
You're not watching Mike and Mike the next morning if you didn't watch the Super Bowl.
Lumberjack competition brought to you by Steel.
I mean,
what do you?
Again, I'm always stunned. I think the numbers are grossly underestimated. I mean, my grandma, may she rest in peace, watched the Super Bowl when she was in her 90s. English wasn't her first language, and she's watching the Super Bowl. Mike and Mike brought to you by Tabasco. If last night's game leaves you wanting more food and more football, go to Tabasco.com for easy-to-make meals. Also, check out Tabasco's Facebook page to watch former football stars Darryl Johnston, Rodney Harrison, and Terrell Davis whip up their favorite game day dishes with celebrity chefs. Bold moments, bold flavor, Tabasco. We had on earlier this morning the man of the hour, man of the year. Mm-hmm. He may have made the biggest play in Super Bowl history. Yep. That's another debate we could have. It really might be. Malcolm Butler. And his story is remarkable. Doesn't go on the field till the 32nd defensive play of the night last night. Started his career in a junior college.
Hines Community College, then to West Alabama, to an undrafted free agent, to maybe the biggest play in Super Bowl history.
So we asked him to take us through that final sequence, and as he began by explaining, he was involved in what otherwise might have been the biggest play of the Super Bowl.
The play before that, I deflected the ball and it landed in the cross hand some kind of way, and I went out for the next play. And I came back in, and they called goal line 3-corner, and I'm like, they should be running the ball, but, I'm a pass defender first, so I'm thinking pass, and I'm most definitely thinking pass when they called 3 corners, and it's 3 receivers on the 1-yard line. But anyway, at practice, the scout team ran that same play, and I got beat on it, and Bill told me, you got to be on that, and at that time, memorization came through. And I just jumped the route, and I just made a play, and just do your job. Do it the best way you can, and I just did my job.
That was Malcolm Butler with us earlier this morning. I love that. Do your job.
Do your job. Listen, how much do we talk about that? And when you watch this play, just a great reaction. But again, it's through film study. It's through getting beat in practice and preparation. He breaks on that ball because, again, he's stacked behind Browner. So he has to wait and see which direction Lockett is going to go because he has him in man coverage. Again, as CC pointed out, and you can tell when Baldwin went in motion and a player follow him, now you pre-snap, it's man coverage. So now, Butler has to figure out which way is Lockett going to go, and it's primed to set up for a pick play, as Seattle describes it, a shield play. That's their term. But talk again about Browner, the big DB who stuffed Curse at the line, didn't let Curse back Browner up at all, so that gave Malcolm Butler the straight line. And his anticipation and break on the ball, as soon as he sees Lockett go on the inside move, he is almost at full stride breaking on the ball. That's where I say, there's the Curse not getting off enough. Good job by Browner. There's Lockett maybe not turning his shoulders enough aggressively for the ball, but credit Butler. And then there's Russell Wilson. He's got to throw that ball, as CC said, lower, and I even think maybe to his back hip instead of leading him on a slant. He sees Lockett. He's got to see Butler running right at the ball, throw it right in his numbers. To that will help Lockett shield the defender even more if you show it to his numbers or right to that number that's on the back shoulder.
We also asked Malcolm Butler if it has sunk into him that he just made the play that won the Super Bowl.
At that moment, I just thought I helped the team, but, as things been settling down, yes, I made a big play to help all my teammates win the Super Bowl, especially Brady, Reeves, all those guys, and it's just a blessing, and I just thank God, and it's just a good feeling, a dream come true, and you can do anything that you believe and have your mind to.
What a whirlwind. Again, as we mentioned, community college, West Alabama, undrafted, appeared in 11 games this year with 1 start. So, he's certainly been on the field some. But to make a play like this, and now, that's what making dreams come when you do the, Make a Wish Upon a Star, the Disney song. I mean, this is what it's for. You know, after games like this, you're used to saying Tom Brady, I'm going to Disney World. But it's Julian Edelman, who had a monster game himself, and this kid, Malcolm Butler, saying it. Dreams are coming true for this kid. You can't imagine it when you're going to the community college that all of a sudden you're going to be there in position to make one of the great plays in Super Bowl history, and he made the most of his opportunity.
It was one of the great games in Super Bowl history, no doubt. Was it the most dramatic? Was it the greatest Super Bowl ever? It's got to be close. If you think about it from beginning to finish, it's got to be right up there with the greatest Super Bowl games ever played. And again, congratulations. The New England Patriots found a way to win against that legendary defense in the fourth quarter.
This has been the Best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNradio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The Best of Mike and Mike. What fuels you? Here's Paul, going to the ski slopes with his buddies.
Dude, double black diamond? Last one down by what?
Paul fuels up at Exxon and Mobile stations, where our quality gasoline helps improve fuel economy. And now he could win $1,000 in Exxon Mobile gift cards just by telling us what fuels him, like skiing with his pals. 10 weekly winners. Full details at Exxon.com or Mobile.com. Exxon and Mobile. Energy lives here.
No purchase necessary. Ends April 7th, 2015. Restrictions apply. Actual fuel economy benefits may vary.